Hello, my friends, and welcome to Speaking About Anime. I am really excited about this week. I always say that, but this week I'm going to talk about an anime that has kind of a special place in my heart. Um, this is one that really got me back into anime. And I've waited a long time to talk about this one because it's something of a guilty pleasure. I have to admit that. It's a little inappropriate at times, especially for the subject matter, and we'll discuss that more as we get into this. But welcome to everybody who's in the chat: Adega, Brandon the anime guy, Chris Persia. Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate you jumping in here today to talk about this anime with me. This is a newer anime. It's a fun anime, and I just it's kind of funny. I didn't really the first time I watched this anime, I wasn't sure that I liked it. Um, and I had my camera off because for some reason, whenever I turn my camera on, my internet goes bull. It just like bogs down. So, hang on, let me. Nope, that didn't work. Let me remove that again and see if that helps. It keeps trying to drop by. At least drop some wisdom on me. Well, I don't know about wisdom. Brandon, I think you're probably a little. I caught your stream the other day and with Fat Steven, and it was good. I was kind of sitting there feeling like, wow, I really need to up my game. I'm not, I'm not doing very well. Um, but this anime really is just it's just fun. It's just a fun anime. It's based in a high school. If you're just coming in, this is Rosario plus a vampire. Oh, or I always call it Rosario and a vampire. Hey, Loki. Thanks for popping in here today. I know you're busy on Sundays, and this is kind of your day off, so thanks for jumping in. But it's just a funny anime. And there was a couple characters that at first, when I first started watching this, I thought, I'm not sure about this. There is a little bat character that comes in. He can kind of be a bit obnoxious and stuff, but I mean, overall, he really grows on you and he becomes funny. Um, but this was like 10 years ago, maybe a little bit longer than that now. When I started really kind of getting back into anime because I was kind of tired of everything that had been being done in regular entertainment. You know, we'd started to watch the destruction of the Star Trek and Star Wars, and you know I'm not a fan of it. But Doctor Who, I never got into Doctor Who. I probably should. I've heard it's great, but I just never that was just never a big one for me. Um, and you know so many others, but I mean, and we're just kind of watching our mythos and our and our pop culture just deteriorate into barf, just absolutely puke inducing nightmarish stuff. And I was really excited to get to talk about this today with you all because I don't know if you guys are having the same kind of weeks I am. But if I have to listen to one more politician or one more idiot try and get us involved in a war in Europe where my son is like prime age where he would be drafted, um, and it's just I am so sick of what's going on in the world right now with all the stupid stuff and the stupid way it's being handled. And I don't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat, both of them. I just I'm sitting there like I don't have anybody to root for. There's literally nobody in this fight that I like. I'm just like I hate you all. I hate you all. You're all stupid. You're all making stupid decisions, and I can't stand you. So I mean, anime is my escape, and this one is just I love it. It's just like I said, it's a guilty pleasure. You will probably never find an anime that has more panty shots in it than this one, and it makes me feel a little awkward sometimes when I'm watching this one because I'm just like, okay, is that necessary? I don't think I need that. Um, but yeah, but yeah, Brandon, it is. It's just. It's. I'm so disgusted with real life right now. I'm just like, just give me some anime, and I'm gonna go downstairs in my basement and pretend like you know Like nothing else is happening. Mainly because I'm scared for my kids and everybody else's kids. I'm like, I'm not as worried about me. I'm 48. I'm fat. I'm old. They're not going to draft me. I mean, they might, but I mean, I'd just be like, no. Well, they're not in their undies, Brandon. But it's like they wear these really short skirts that are constantly blowing up, and the camera angle is constantly showing you getting like views of panties in this anime. And since they're high school girls, I'm just like, I'm not sure this is okay. I feel because I have kids that are these ages, and I'm just like, I don't really want. But I mean, I remember the fun thing about these animes, is ones that are especially based in high school and stuff, are I remember being that age, and they take me back to that age. So I'm not looking at them as like the 48-year-old dad. I'm looking at them as the kid that I was when I was growing up in high school. And so it makes me laugh, but because they like yeah, there's very tropey that the skirts in animes for high schools are all so short always. Um, it's just it's just funny, but I mean, in it, and that's the one thing I do love about anime, is that they kind of capture that the high school is that coming of age. It's that transitioning from youth to adult. And I love how the Japanese look at that, and how the struggle that goes on in their schools and stuff. And this was my first real introduction to a harem anime. And all harem animes always make me feel like, well, why did they have to choose one? How come we can't choose all? I don't know. Maybe that's the wrong way to look at this too. But seriously, I always feel like, oh, I wish he could I wish he could choose all of them, because you through this you always feel in the harem animes like there's kind of one of them being singled out. Uh, except for in a couple animes. There's one called oh, and because I wanted to talk about it for a second, it just left me. It's kind of a harem anime, um, that one of the characters, like they talk about, like they're from God, the realm of gods and demons. Oh, Shuffle. It's called Shuffle, which is another great anime. And it has a lot more kind of adultish themes to it, which I kind of thought was cool. There is that real coming of age story in Shuffle. But like one of the characters comes from the realm of the gods where they have polygamy, and so he's just like, well, you don't have to choose just one of us, just pick all of us, you know. It's like, wow, they actually said that in an anime. Um, but Tenchi is my harem anime of my youth. Now, are you talking about Tenchi Muro, War on Gemini? Because I love that. That's going to be one of my next animes to talk about. There's actually Tenchi Muro there's like several of them, and I guess there's some older ones, and then War on Gemini came later. The War on Gemini was the one I found first, and I loved it. It is a fantastic anime, and it is a great harem anime. Very very funny. What Adega says, short skirts are what my high school is made of. Yeah, yeah, I'll bet. Oh yeah, I mean, you're there in the land of Sodom and Gomorrah. I mean, in California, so yeah, I don't doubt that. Um, but yeah, no, it's I've just started going back and getting into some of the older and older animes. My brother suggested one to me the other day called Gundam. Oh, what is it called? Gundam something like Wing. I can't remember. I was just watching it the other day. Apologize, my brain just shut off there. But yeah, it is, and it's an older one from the '90s, and it's really good so far. It kind of jumps you off really fast into the story, so I'm still trying to catch up. But anyway, so I'm going to see if I can get some pictures pulled up here so I can share with you guys, um, kind of what our characters look like if you have not seen this anime. So these are two of the main characters. In fact, these are the two real main characters of this anime. This is the boy is Skune Alno. His name is spelled like Tskune, but it's not. Um, so sorry, I'm trying to get my There we go. So his name is Skune Alno. The girl sitting next to him is Mocha Akashia, um, and she is a vampire. Now, how he is a human being, and basically failed his high school entrance exams, so he couldn't he wasn't going to be able to go to high school. His dad is walking down the street behind this old guy, and the old guy drops a paper, which is a high school admissions form. And the dad picks it up and basically just like runs, runs off. Um, and basically, so that's how he gets him into high school by getting him to go into by basically stealing somebody else's application form. But it turns out that this is an academy for monsters. So on the first day of school, he's riding the school bus to the school, and they go through a tunnel. He's on his cell phone, and the cell phone call gets cut off. When he comes through the other side of the tunnel, he is essentially in a different world. The sky is kind of a reddish pink color. So he is actually he when he goes to this school, he is basically in another world, and where this school is located, and he is being educated there at this school, and he is the only human amongst an entire monster student body. And the monsters would basically kill him if they found out that he was human. Because the monsters, because the humanity controls the earth, monsters are kind of relegated to hide in the shadows. But yeah, yeah, it is. So you basically go to a land of monsters, which is cut off from the human world. But I mean, monsters live in the human world, but they have to disguise themselves, which is part of the storyline. As part of their high school training, they're learning how to fit in as human beings in the human world. But this school is basically set in its own kind of bubble. Yeah, no humans allowed. And so he doesn't realize this at first because all the students look human because they're practicing to be humans. And he meets Mocha the first, and once he gets to the other side, she actually crashes into him with a bike with a bicycle. And that's where you get your real first. Actually, there's a panty shot. Like I said, this show has a lot of shots of girls' underwear. Um, so I just kind of have to look past that when I'm watching this because I don't really care about that stuff anyway. It's just it makes me laugh because it's so over the top. But this is not nearly as like if you have ever seen High School DxD, it is like it is not nearly as over the top, innuendo and sexualized as High School DxD. That is much more intense. I mean, you don't actually see any nudity in this anime. So I would still say this is not for kids under high school age. It is a little too adult for that. But if you're an adult, you will find this funny because the one thing I do love about this style of anime is when they make the boy kind of the prudish character. That always makes me kind of laugh because of his reactions and the things that he's going through because he's not this sex crazed lunatic like so many boys are. As where in High School DxD, the guy in that anime is an absolute pervert from the get go, and I found that very very off putting. Um, so Skune is just kind of a funny character because of that. Um, so let me see. I'm gonna pull up these next photos if I can get it to actually do it. I apologize. Sometimes my photo thing doesn't work the way it's supposed to. So we get introduced to these characters right here. And these are all of well, we're missing Mocha in this picture. But let me put that back over. There we go. That's where it's supposed to be. So we're missing Mocha in this particular picture. But if we go from left to right, we have and I just lost her name off the top of my head. So we'll go over here because I remember her name. So from right to left, we've got Ruby Tojo, And then we've got Mizore Shirayuki, and then the right here we have Kurumu Kurano, and she's the little witch character, and I am blanking on her name. I apologize. Yukiri, that's what it is. Yukiri Sendo. And that tells you how much I like this anime. I'm not using any prompts to tell you what their names are. This is all from memory. I have seen this anime so many times, and that's how much I like it. Is I know their names pretty much off the top of my head. If you give my 48-year-old brain a couple seconds to get them out, the blue haired girl, she is a succubus, and Missouri is a ice woman, and then these two are both witches. One's Ruby's a little older than the other one and stuff, and they're all infatuated with Skune, the main character, but they don't really. Most of them don't start out that way. Like they're all kind of aggressive towards Skune at first, and then they kind of fall in love with him through a series of events. And Mocha actually ends up kind of helping this, although she doesn't mean to, because she's the one that meets Skune first, and they develop a friendship, and then these other characters are slowly introduced as we go through the rest of the season. And here's another picture of Kurumu when she's actually more in her succubus form. She's got wings and a tail. And then here we have, this is a picture of Mocha. And this is because Mocha is a split character. Toe Jam and Earl. Harem Solar, yeah. But yeah, so I'm sorry, I gotta pull this up here. And Adega actually said something here a second ago. Ergo Proxy is a great anime. Tokyo Ghoul is also another great anime. I never got into season 2. I the first season I loved, and then the second season I don't know. It's like they changed the format, and I never understood what they did. I've even gone back, tried to watch it again, and I need to just push myself to get all the way through that season to see if they ever explain what the heck happened between season 1 and season 2, because it's almost like a separate anime. The way they ended up doing that one. Sorry, squirrel, but I saw Adega say that, and I was just like, oh, I need to say something about that. So, but yeah, so here we have Mocha, and she has two characters, like I said. If she's wearing her rosary, which is the cross around her neck, then she has the pink hair, and she is a very mild-mannered, meek, kind of just sweet character. And if the rosary is taken off, she transforms into this version of Mocha, which is her more out and out vampire self. It releases essentially all of her vampire powers, if her rosary is removed. And no one seems to be able to remove her rosary except Skune. Anybody else who tries fails. They can't get it off. Only he can get it off. And that's never really explained in the anime, but it's kind of part of the mystique of the story behind, which is kind of one of the things that makes this anime fun. Is there's a lot of mildly unexplained stuff that you just kind of have to accept on faith, and but you end up just it's not something that like will cause you to get hung up. You're going to be okay with the fact that some of these things are unexplained, and it really shouldn't bother you in the long run. But these two characters basically are the same person, but they could not be different. They are night and day different from each other. The vampire Mocha is very like stern, aggressive, and is just interested in fighting and power and kicks and stuff, and yet the gentle Mocha is the one that kind of falls for Skune first, and then over time the other Mocha ends up falling for him as well. And that's one of the cool things about this anime is that they do bring it up several times throughout the series, but you never know which one of these two is the real Mocha. Is the because this is how she was when she was born. And then later, so that she could fit in better in the human world when she went to school, because she goes to live with her mother. Her father is the vampire. Um, so so that she could live in the human world, they placed the rosary around her neck, which transforms her into this. Um, but you spend the whole series trying to find out which one's the real one, or is are they both the same girl? Just one thing is bringing out the personality of the more meeker character. If you've ever seen Stargate SG-1, the duality kind of reminds me of when the Ghoul take over a host, and then later on they find a way of switching back and forth between the host and the in one of the later episodes. Sorry, going off on a tangent here, but I love Stargate. So, but that's what it reminds me of, is basically there's two personalities, and this device can suppress or bring out one or the other of those personalities. So it's kind of along that line, and that's what makes her so interesting. And she ends up being the like kick-ass character. She's always like, she can defeat everybody with like one kick or one punch. It's kind of like a girlish version, vampire version of One Punch Man in a kind of roundabout way. So it is a lot of fun. Um, so there we have another picture of Mocha, and all of this is very, very sexualized. But I mean, it's not over the top. It's like a cute thing. Like I said, this is something as a high school kid that I would have just ate up, had I been more in the know about anime when I was that young. Um, and I think that's all the pictures I have for that particular group. But there's actually, no, it isn't. That's a lie. Just kidding. So I missed a couple of characters because we have some different characters that actually end up coming in um, later in. So this is Kokoa, a Shuzan, um, and she is Mocha's younger sister. She doesn't show up till season 2, and then she shows up, and her whole shtick is that she's basically trying to force Mocha to always be in her vampire Mocha form. She wants Mocha to be the serious badass, vampire Mocha, because that's the Mocha she grew up with. And so there's kind of a storyline that goes where she's constantly trying to do these terrible things to bring out the more powerful Mocha so she can fight with her. And it's just kind of funny. At first, she comes off as a very obnoxious character, and she's kind of hard to deal with in the first half of season 2, but she grows on you pretty fast. Um, and then we have these two. These are actually two of the teachers at school. This is Miss Meccanome. She is a cat slash woman, and she is their homeroom teacher. She is very sweet, very funny, and I really like her as her character. She's a lot of fun, and I like the girl that voices her as a character for the dub version. The other one, this is Mrs. Meccanome. No, it's not Meccanome. I just lost her name. She is basically the math teacher, and she's kind of what do they call that? When people are into bondage and stuff, MSM or LSI, I don't remember. There's some letters that are for like bond people that are into bondage. She's kind of that kind of a character, but about math. So she's the math teacher for these kids, and she takes her job a little too seriously, and like basically tries to force them to study math in like an aggressive, over the top way. um and in several scenes it kind of turns into like a, yeah, BDSM, thank you. It kind of turns into that, where she's trying to force uh Skune to learn using her monster form, and it is just, yeah, it's Yeah, I'm telling you, if I'd had a math teacher like, see, I had a retard for a math teacher who guy was super smart, but he couldn't teach. Like he couldn't tell you how to run a toaster, let alone how to do algebraic equations. So I mean, my algebra two class in high school was a mess because of that guy. Now this woman, like, she's psychotic about teaching math, and yeah, in kind of a sadomasochistic way. Just but I mean, seriously, I really cannot recommend this one enough if you are adult enough to be able to handle kind of the some of the more sexualized aspects to this show. Because it's really not enough or over top enough that where it'll make you feel super uncomfortable. At least it didn't for me. And I'm fairly prudish about a lot of things, but this one, it's very done in a very funny way. One of my favorite episodes of the entire two seasons, and there is only two seasons, so this isn't a lot. I think there's maybe 24 seasons total, or 24 episodes total. Um, so it's not a long anime. I really wish they would have done a season three, because things are really starting to change, and things are getting really cool towards the end of season two, and then it just kind of, they do kind of wrap it up at the end, but it left room enough that you're like, oh, they really could have done a season three, and it needed a season three, because Skune is going through some changes because of some incidents that happened at the end of the first season. um but yeah, it is just it's it's one of those things. But I don't know, I'm an adult, but there are times if you, well, then you will love this. You will love it because it does, and that's what I love about these animes. It makes me, like I said, I don't feel like I'm watching them as the adult Brian. I feel like I'm watching them through the eyes of the kid I was when I was 18 or when I was in high school. And it makes me remember things that I forgot, like, how I was crazy about a certain girl, or, different things and stuff like that. And that's what I do love about the way anime does this kind of thing, is because they tell stories about high school that everybody wishes had happened to them when they were in high school. And it's one of those fantasy things, but it is all very, very much done in good fun. Like, nobody has sex in this. There's a lot of like sexual innuendo and sexual tension, but I mean, if you remember being 16, 17, 18, that is all that's going on in your brain at that time. I mean, the fact that we can learn math or do anything like that is actually a miracle, because it is really, really hard to turn off those parts of your brain that are screaming at you at the top of their lungs. Um, I mean, it is really fun. You just have to kind of watch this with a youthful heart, and think of, man, I wish this was happening to me. Because I mean, he's got all of these gorgeous girls that are after him for various reasons, and the funny situations that they get into. Like I was starting to say, one of my favorite episode is called Bathroom and a Vampire, which is a strange title, but it is so funny. It's towards the end of the first season. Skune goes home to see his parents while they're kind of in a break, and and all the girls, one by one, in various different ways, show up at his house. And the funny thing is the mom has just, at the beginning of the episode, the mother, Skune's mother, is sitting there watching this news report that is talking about crazed, oversexed teenagers, and how what they're talking about is the fact that um, the child pregnancies are on the rise, and our baby's having baby. It's one of the, and it's done in that very media esque, oh, the world is ending kind of a thing, and the mother's watching this, and she's just like, oh my goodness, those poor kids and those poor parents and stuff like that. And then little does she know that all of that stuff is about to invade her house. She's going to get a firsthand look at what happens as kids grow up and you become adults, and your interests start changing. So Skune comes home, and then, like I said, all the girls show up in various different ways at his house. and it totally freaks the mother out because they all end up in these awkward situations. Oh, it is literally laugh out loud, bust a gut funny because it's just situations you're just like, oh my heck. I wish this was happening to me, but also not because it is such, it's just one of those awkward youthful humor moments where Kudamu tries to go and seduce him in the bathroom while he's taking his shower, and then one of the other girls catches him doing that, and the ice woman tries to freeze her, and then she slips on the ice and her towel comes off. And then you see Scooter, and there's a the trope in anime is that whenever something sexualized happen, blood squirts out of the nose from the guy, or the girl or whoever, to show that, increased blood flow or whatever. That's kind of the joke to show um to show, that there's sexual tension happening, and I love the way they do that. It makes me laugh every time. But anyway, that's what. So her towel gets ripped off, and Skune's nose just explodes. Anyway, and then the next thing you see is Missouri, which is the ice woman who has tried to freeze Kudamu, and she slipped and it got exposed. She's chasing her around in her underwear, trying to beat her up because she just exposed, got herself exposed to Skune, and it's just and the mother's standing there watching these half naked girls running around, and Skune's trying to chase them, and like, get your clothes back on. He's freaking out, and then the mother passes out. I mean, it is really fun. I mean, it's very slapstick, very just like really done in just a fantastically fun way. But seriously, it is one of my favorite episodes just because of the ludicrous nature of what happens to him. Some of the other great episodes, anytime the mothers come in, there's two crazy moms basically that show up, and it's Kudamu's mother. Um, yeah, that would be kind of bad if that was a real thing. But I mean, other than showing totally inappropriate growths in the areas of guys, I don't know how else they could show that. So I mean, it's kind of a toned down way of doing that, I guess, at least from the Japanese perspective. But it always makes me laugh because it's so outrageous. But yeah, that would be terrible if every time something happened. Because I mean, can you imagine the amount of blood flowing through the halls of the high school? Wow, that would not be good. But yeah, it's there's a couple of moms that show up, and it's Kudamu's mother, so she's the succubus mom. And if her daughter's behavior is kind of outrageous through this anime, the mother's the mother is like 100 times worse, way over sexualized. She starts trying to hit on Skune because I mean, that she's a succubus, and that's their deal, is that they try and seduce as many men as they can to propagate their species, because they're just women, they're only women. And so they have to seduce human men in kind of an effort to find their chosen one for life. And then that comes out in the episode. You learn more about each one of these monsters. You learn more of what makes the ice woman, more of a thing, and they're more of kind of the same way. A lot of these monsters that are going after Skune are basically female monsters. They're monsters that don't really have male counterparts, and so they have to get males from other, I don't know if you want to call them species or whatever, to continue to propagate their line. Um, but yeah, oh, I know. The Japanese perspective on things is really fun. Somebody called me a weeaboo once, which I thought, that's stupid. I'm not that, but I'm kind of becoming a weeaboo. And if you don't know what that is, go look it up. It means that you like Japanese culture better than Western culture. Now, in the past, I would have said no, that's not true, but I'm kind of getting there because what Western culture is doing is just gross. Oh, it's terrible. But yeah, it's so yeah, it is so it's there's a lot of, and there, I mean, the great thing about this anime, it's not just all goofy humor. There is there's some serious stuff. There's some, I mean, there is some drama to what's happening. Um I mean, it's the angst of youth. It's all of those things that go along with growing up and learning to come of age and stuff like that. And so it is very fun to watch that happen, and some of the choices that they have to make, and the fact that Skune doesn't want to do anything to defile these girls, that he doesn't want to treat them like they're objects. He, you know, he's trying to figure out his own feelings, and he, you know, it's just it's just kind of a cool anime for that. There's a lot of unrequited love happening, and he's trying to figure out who he really loves, and the girls are trying to, you know, get more involved with him, and they're trying to make him see that they're the right one. And you know, and it's just it's really funny because it's so frustrating for all of the other guys in this high school that Skune seems to be getting so much attention from some of the most beautiful girls in the school. And there's a lot of that going on behind the scenes, like, oh, this Skune guy, who is he? Like, why does everybody love him? You know, and so it's just, but and some of it is the fact that I think he's human. And so, but he's a very different kind of human. He accepts the monsters kind of for who they are. And although he's very afraid at first, he learns how to live in this world that is basically nothing but monsters. I mean, that's there's kind of a reoccurring theme there in a lot of different animes where it's kind of, it's talking about diversity without doing it the way the Western media does it. It's doing it through analogy, through, you know, parables, if you want to put it that way, and stuff. I mean, it's they're talking about those things in a not slap you in the face, punch you with their ideology kind of way that what we're dealing with right now in U.S. and Western culture. So I love the fact that's how they do it, is that they still use the fact that there are differences between people and monsters and this and that to teach people you can still like other people and be involved with other people who are not like you. They don't look like you. They don't come from the same backgrounds as you. Some of them don't even speak the same language and whatever. And you can learn how to live with them and overlook all of the things that really don't matter. And so I like the fact that they do this the same way that the old Star Trek used to. You know, it's smart. It's done with, you know, real thoughtfulness to pull people out of their preconceptions about each other. And they do it in a very fun, um, entertaining way that is something that we've kind of lost. Um, and there we go. In a lot of respects, they have lost their shits together while we yeah, yes, yes, we seem to be wallowing in our own filth, and they're like, I think we're just going to get rid of our filth. I don't think we want to hang that around. But so this there's a, I mean, there's you're constantly having kind of different characters introduced. One of one of my favorite characters is he's called Geen Merioka, I think is his last name, Guigne, and he is the head of the newspaper club, which they all eventually get involved in, and there's a whole storyline that goes through that. And he's you come to find out what monster he is later, and in one of the episodes, and that's kind of part of the episodes, is there's always kind of a reveal for like a different kind of monster or a different situation for monsters that they're in, or how Skune is dealing with the monsters. um and it's so you get a lot of like interaction, and it just leads to a lot of really funny interaction between these characters. But Geen is kind of a pervert. He's the pervert in this episode, and he's always big into photography, but he's really big into taking inappropriate shots of girls while they're dressing. There's a whole episode around this. He's basically a peeping tom, and the reaction of the girls when they find out is it's just really funny, and they beat the crap out of him. And but for a long time, Skune gets misconceived as he's the peeping tom in this. And so there's a whole episode that kind of talks about how that all gets, straightened out. And but Guinea, he goes on to be a main, one of another kind of a, if not a main character, a main side character for this anime. And he's really funny because he's constantly getting himself in trouble. He's always doing mildly inappropriate things, and then all of a sudden there's times when he's just fine. He's just a normal, average, great guy, and and there's nothing wrong with what he's doing. So I mean, you get the dual sides of his personality going on there as well, which is very entertaining because you see his growth as a character. Um, but yeah, this is just a fun, enjoyable anime. It's got good music. The dubbing on it is really good. I thought the vocal casting for it is funny. I think you're gonna enjoy the Bat character. You will find him a little annoying at first, but then later on, especially as you get into season two, it suddenly comes to fruition of why that character's in the anime. But he's basically the expository dialogue character. He's kind of the announcer in the background that's talking about things, and stuff. But you'll think it's kind of annoying at first, but then I don't know, maybe you won't. But I did when I first saw this, and then he ended up kind of being one of my more favorite characters towards the end of the series. If I had to pick a favorite character, um, I would pick Kudamu. If these girls were lined up and they said, Brian, you've got to pick one of these, I'd pick Kudamu because she's just kind of funny, and she's the succubus, and she's super hot. I mean, Mocha's cute and everything, but I just I like her character. She is kind of the one that is just really funny and stuff. And what you'll find a lot in this anime is there's a lot of fourth wall breaks. So it's kind of like what they did in Deadpool, where like they'll be acting along and talking and stuff, and then all of a sudden one of the characters will turn towards the camera and say something directly to the audience. So you get those fourth wall breaks every once in a while. It's not a lot, but you do get that, and it makes you feel like you've just been drawn directly into the show. And it's really funny. And Kudamu has some of the best ones in. She has some of the best fourth wall breaks in the series. So I would absolutely. I bought this. I have this on Blu-ray, which I'm doing with all of the animes that I like. I like the digital copies, but I am very much going away to get more physical media, because I'm always afraid that they're going to take these animes and they're going to ruin them later on, like what we saw them do with Cowboy Bebop. Or they're going to take them and they're going to mistranslate stuff to try and put their agenda in. Because I know there's been some, apparently Sony has had the rights taken away from them, that they can't even do anime stuff anymore, because the US Sony has anyway, because they were trying to, when they were dubbing things, they were changing stuff to fit more of the political agenda that we see in the West. And so they weren't doing direct translations. They were changing stuff to alter the storylines. And so I mean, yeah, they basically got shut down. They're like, nope. So yeah, it's I don't know why Sony chose to do that. Um but I mean, it's just, so I mean, and I remember, and actually Fat Steven said this on Brandon the Anime Guy stream the other day. Watch these with the subtitles on, because every once in a while you will see that they've changed something. But most of the time when I've noticed it, it's really just to, sometimes the way it's said in Japanese wouldn't quite translate as well to English, and stuff. Like they've rearranged the sentence just a little bit. But I mean, but there are some woke things that they're trying to sneak into the dubbed versions. So always be aware that that is a possibility. Yeah, dang, woke voice actors. Yes. And I don't even know if it's really the voice actor because they're just reading what they're given. I think most of the time, I think more often than not, it's the people behind doing the translating that are trying to alter these storylines because it's just like, oh well, that's way too conservative. That's way too traditional. We got to screw that up, because that's their whole shtick. Here lately is to try and ruin anything that's seen as traditional or old fashioned. And that's one of the things I love about the anime is that it really does still follow that older world sensibility. Even when they're incorporating things like gays and transgenders and stuff like that, because that stuff is all over in anime. It is really everywhere in anime. Um, but like they handle it the way it should be handled. It's not drawn attention to. They're not made the most powerful, the bestest, the most wonderful character in a series just because they're transgender. They're just another character who happens to be that in the anime. Like it's just glossed over, and that's just who they are. And or there's a gay character, and that's just who they are. There isn't this whole fanfare, and we got to draw attention to it and show how stunning and brave they are. Ugh. We don't get that really with the Japanese anime. I mean, there's a gay couple in bed together in Cowboy Bebop, which is a '90s anime. It happens so fast you almost miss it, but there is absolutely a scene with two guys in bed. It's like, and it's Valentine. She bursts into a room on these two guys in bed together, and seriously, if you didn't know it was there, you almost would miss it. But I mean, that's just how it's handled. It's just like, oh well, that was it, and then they're off to another thing. The attention doesn't get drawn to that whole scene, and that's how it should be done. People should be allowed their private lives, and I don't really want to be a part of them. Anyway, so please go check this out. Take a chance. It's on Hulu right now. It's only in sub on Hulu, so you may have to do some searching around to find it. I ended up having I bought it through Apple. This is way back years ago, and I've just had it. I carry it with me on my phone and stuff all the time. That's how many times I've watched this and how much I love this anime. Is it's just funny, and it's just a fun one. When I'm feeling down or when I'm bored with everything else, I will kick this one in and watch it over again. That's the kind of anime it is. It has a really great rewatchable um, story to it. And like I said, you'll get to the end of that second season, and you're just like, no, damn it, I want more. What happened? What happened with Skune? Who did he end up with? And there are mangas on this. So this was adapted from a manga. So I mean, I just never had the chance to actually go and get a manga to finish out this story to find out what happened, because there's speculation that because of something that happens at the end of season one, Skune ends up becoming a ghoul. It's also been said that he eventually becomes a vampire. And then there's other people that say, no, he's none of those things. He just gains some power due to a certain incident that happens in the anime. And so it's kind of this up in the air debate thing, and it's one of those fun kind of debate that, you remember the days when you could actually debate and enjoy a debate about a thing without getting into a fight and wanting to kill the other person because they were destroying the thing you loved. You guys remember when that was a thing? I do. When you could have a discussion about Star Wars without wanting to punch the lights out of the person who you're talking to about it. I mean, God, wasn't that fun when fandom used to be fun? I mean, you'd think that would be obvious, but no, no, it's not. Anyway, thank you guys for being here this week. Next week, I think we will do War on Gemini, Tenchi Muro War on Gemini. If you have not seen that, I encourage you strongly to go watch it this week and be ready to discuss it next week. It is another harem style anime, but it is very different. It's more in a futuristic setting, and it is a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun as an anime. It's got You've got like machine fighting in it. It really does take all of the different aspects of anime and incorporate them very well into one anime. So you've got the like Gundam type machines. Yes, the War on Gemini. It is you get a lot of really great stuff in this anime, and it has become another one of my all time favorites. And it has very much of a similar feel to this one as far as the interactions between the boy character and all the girl characters. But that one does talk very much about um, there's a very good reason for this being a harem anime, which is very rarely given. Most of the time, it's just a harem anime because somebody wants harem anime. This one is based on a culture where there are literally more women than men, and the men are almost seen as breeding stock because of a certain feature that allows them to control what they call mechalords, which is basically large machines that have humans inside of them. So it is really great. It is fun, and I look forward to talking to you guys about that next Sunday. We'll be doing this at the same time next week. If anyone is interested in jumping on to talk about this with me next week, just shoot me a message, and we'll have somebody come on and help me talk about that one. So thank you guys for being here. I appreciate your time on this Sunday. I was almost late getting on here because our church ran a little bit late this week. So anyway, thank you guys, and we will talk to you next week. Thanks, everybody. Bye now.